We are going to dive into all of that. Let's welcome in former executive of the year, MLB insider and expert Jim Bowden. Jim, I know, look, you get on the phone, you know all the GMs, you talk to every single team, so we're going to pick apart your brain. Let's start with potential big buyers at the trade deadline. Who are you hearing could be on the market?
Okay, Amanda, in terms of buyers, the New York Yankees GM Brian Cashman is everywhere. He is trying to land both a starting pitcher and a third baseman. Now, his preference is to get a front-of-the-rotation starter. He has talked to the San Diego Padres about Dylan Cease. He's also talked to the Marlins about both of their starters. If he can't get a front-of-the-rotation starter, then he'll go get a back-of-the-rotation starter and then add another impact reliever. He also wants a third baseman. He is in on Eugenio Suarez like everyone else is on Arizona. Houston Astros are big-time buyers. Dana Brown, the GM, he's after a starting pitcher and a left-handed hitter. The Phillies, Dave Dombrowski, the future Hall of Fame executive, is going all in. He wants bullpen help and outfield. He's looking at the Guardians, Stephen Kwan and Emmanuel Clase as his perfect trade deadline trade if he can find a way to do that blockbuster. The Cubs, Jed Hoyer, under a lot of pressure. Well, he's after a starting pitcher and a third baseman like the Yankees. And A.J. Preller loves this time of year. He's trying to get creative. He's trying to find a way to trade Dylan Cease, get prospects, combine those prospects with his own prospects, and then go get either Joe Ryan of Minnesota or Sandy Alcantara of Miami. If he can't do that, then he's going to go add two big bats. But those are the biggest five buyers as of this hour.
And we're going to get into Dylan Cease and a lot of the pitchers who could be moving here in a minute. Let's go to sellers. You mentioned Eugenio Suarez, and it's not just his name that I've been hearing with the D-backs. There's multiple names I've been hearing. I guess the question is, are they actually going to move any of these guys? What are you hearing about the Diamondbacks and potential other sellers out there?
All right, GM Mike Hazen has not made the decision yet, but it doesn't help that they're not playing well after the break. He's going to make the decision early next week. If they don't have a good weekend, then he's going to sell. And my expectations is that's the direction he's going to go. That's the direction he's leaning. He doesn't want to do it. He wants to stay in the race. But if he does sell, he'll win the trade deadline because he'll be able to deal not just Suarez, but first baseman Josh Naylor and starting pitchers Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly. He should do really well in the seller's market. The Orioles, we know, are going to sell. They're in the process. They are having a lot of dialogue on Ryan O'Hearn, Cedric Mullins, and Charlie Morton. I'm expecting those to be the first three traded. And then after that, he's listening on Felix Bautista. He's got an open mind. He knows he has to wheel and deal, and he's going to. The Guardians are going to sell. Clase, Kwan, Santana, the three biggest names that Cleveland is shopping. Athletics are offering their pitchers. Luis Severino, Springs, J.P. Sears, they're all on the market. And the Twins are kind of like, they're kind of going to sell probably a reliever, either Duran or Jax. They're getting a lot of hits on Ryan. We'll talk about him in a minute. But they're also concerned the team's for sale. They feel like it's going to be sold. They're going to be careful because they don't want to do something the new owners don't want them to do. So that's going to be a fascinating team.
Okay, so talk about the Twins and Joe Ryan. Specifically, what are you hearing there?
Unlikely that he gets moved.
Okay.
If he does get moved, he's got a chance to be the best starting pitcher that is moved. And you control him for 3 postseasons. It would be great. But I think that's the one guy that if you don't absolutely overwhelm them, they're going to hold on. I think it's more likely they trade those relievers.
Let's go into some of the other pitching, and I want to talk about Sandy Alcantara. Was on the bump yesterday for the Marlins. First time this season he went 7 innings. Yes, we don't talk about that with a lot of pitchers, but Sandy Alcantara has been the exception to this rule. However, he has been so hot and cold, Jim, since he went through that surgery. Could this Cy Young award-winning pitcher actually be moving on from the Marlins? What are you hearing now that we're closer?
I was told today, earlier today, highly unlikely he gets moved. And it's because teams aren't willing to pay the prospect price equivalent to a Cy Young Award winner. And they are not going to trade him at a discounted prospect offer. They're just not. They've had some. They will talk to teams. They will listen. But no one is even close to making an offer that the Marlins are considering. It's more likely they hold on to him. They let him pitch August and September, possibly trade him in the offseason, or maybe even at next year's trade deadline. Highly unlikely he's moved, I'm being told.
Okay, let's go to Dylan Cease now because you mentioned his name quite a bit. The Padres, I am curious, though, what the return would look like for him. And then what are the chances he ends up with the team in the AL East? Because, I mean, the Yankees, you already mentioned them. The Red Sox, they need a starting pitcher. The Mets could use him as well. What's going on with Dylan Cease?
This is vintage A.J. Preller, the president and GM of the Padres, right? This is vintage him, which is he needs Cease, right? He's got a playoff team. He's going to get a wild card. He may even win the division, and then he wants Cease in the postseason, but he's a free agent at the end of the year. So A.J. and his staff are thinking, okay, what if I can trade Dylan Cease to one of those AL East teams that you're mentioning, Amanda? What if I can get 2 really good prospects for him, then take 2 of my really good prospects, and then go make that offer that the Miami Marlins can't say no to for Alcantara, or the Twins can't say no to for Joe Ryan, or turn him into Edward Cabrera of the Marlins as an example, so that they get back a pitcher they can control for 3 postseasons instead of 1 postseason. So if Cease is traded, he's only going to be traded if AJ can do that quick pivot and turn him somehow into a starting pitcher that he would control beyond this year.
We're going to have to, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with the AL East, and then also Dylan Cease as well. Let's jump to the closers. 2 big names out there, Emmanuel Clase with the Guardians, Johan Duran with the Twins. I'm reading at least the Twins want a very hefty return for Duran, given what they gave up in order to get him. What are the chances both of these guys get moved?
I think it's pretty good, Amanda, because of the teams that are chasing them. And I'm talking Dodgers, Phillies, Mets. We're talking about the big boys with the big biceps and the big farm systems and the big money, right? Like all of that. So just think of the biceps being flexed right now by those big market teams. Dodgers, if they want to win a World Series, they're going to have to go get another reliever. Tanner Scott's elbow, not good. You know, they just fail late innings. They got to fix it. Clase or Duran would fix that, right? Philadelphia Phillies, yes, they signed Dave Robertson, but right after he signed Robertson, Dave Dombrowski was back on his phone making phone calls trying to get one of these impact relievers. And I get a sense of urgency from Dave Dombrowski and the Phillies. I feel like they want to go pedal to the metal right now. And then you've got the New York Mets who are in that race with the Phillies. And look, they don't want to see the Phillies get Clase and Duran and then them be left out on the cold. So I think there's a really good chance that they get dealt. And, you know, when you talk about those 3 big market teams, they do have good farm systems, and they're some of those top prospects are expendable for them. So I think it's likely they get moved.
Speaking of a top prospect, we're going to circle back to the Diamondbacks and Eugenio Suarez. Maybe the most sought-after bat right now, 36 home runs, 18 additional extra base hits. I heard potentially a reunion with the Reds. I don't know what you're hearing about that, your former team. But what could the sweepstakes be like for him?
Yeah, and by the way, only 1 less homer than Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani this year, right? And 2 more than Kyle Schwarber. I mean, that's how good he has been. There are 6 teams that have been having constant dialogue with Arizona Diamondbacks GM Mike Hazen, who is preparing if he decides to trade. He's getting the best offers on the table. It is the Yankees, Cubs, Tigers, Brewers, Mariners, and the Reds. All of these have been confirmed except the Brewers. I've not confirmed them, but I am being told that they have inquired. But the other 5 teams I have confirmed are all in. And look, he's a difference maker. He just is. He lengthens lineup, and with that kind of power, when you're talking about close pennant races, you know, he'll make a big difference. So, you know, we'll see. I mean, all those teams listed certainly have enough to make a deal like that. It certainly would be great for the small market Reds, because of all the teams that we just listed, they're the one team that's on the outside looking in. And so to make that acquisition, that might give them a shot at making the playoffs. If they don't add a big bat, I'm not sure they do make the playoffs, because right now I think they're on the outside looking in. If you're Seattle, really improves your chances to win the World Series. Same thing with the Milwaukee Brewers. Huge difference maker for those 2 teams in particular.
I am curious, and I'm throwing this in there so we'll make this question short. When you get to the trade deadline and you really need that batter, you really need that pitcher, do we see teams overpay for these guys at the trade deadline?
You're going to overpay when supply and demand says you have to, and it's just a seller's market. So you're going to have to overpay. Now, that being said, Amanda, you're not going to see the Yankees trade Spencer Jones or George Lombard Jr. That's not going to happen. So those special, very, very top prospects, they're not going to get moved. The Reds aren't going to trade Chase Burns, even if it means they don't get Eugenio Suarez. That's not going to happen. But in terms of overpaying, yeah, you're going to have to overpay. If you want Eugenio Suarez or Joe Ryan or Sandy Alcantara, you're going to have to pay a price that makes you, as a former GM, you won't sleep for a week. Even if you make the trade, you'll understand the pain. It'll feel like broken bones and bleeding for hours.
Last guy we're going to talk about, Jarren Duran with the Red Sox. And when I saw this in the rundown, I called Will Middlebrooks, you know, our good friend and former World Series champ with the Red Sox, and he said, why? Why would they move him? And took a deep breath. He said, look, the problem is he's the heart of this clubhouse right now. He really, truly is. They don't want to see him move on, but they have 4 outfielders, basically, that they need to play every day. There are gold gloves in there, potential gold gloves in there. If you're the Red Sox, what do you do with Jarren Duran?
Oh, I wouldn't trade him. I think the Red Sox have the position players good enough to win a World Series. I think it's the pitching staff that they need to work on and concentrate. Look, I know that they want to keep Abreu in right, Rafaela in center, and Anthony in left. I get that. But Jarren Duran could, you know, keep him at DH, and you can rotate all 4 guys for the next 3 years. So I personally wouldn't touch Jarren Duran, but it doesn't matter what I would do, right? It only matters what Craig Breslow, the GM of the Red Sox, would do. Craig Breslow has been on the phone, and he has dangled Jarren Duran. Now, he is looking for either a starting pitcher to put with Crochet at the top of the rotation, or he's looking for a solution at first base. And if he can get the right starting pitcher or the right first baseman in a deal for Jarren Duran, he will trade him, is what I'm being told by opposing GMs.
All right. Jim Bowden, we appreciate it. Let us know what you hear. As soon as the phone rings, you give us a call because it's going to get wild over the next week with the MLB trade deadline just 1 week away from today. Taking a look at tonight's MLB slate, you got the Blue Jays going up against the Tigers. Padres, could they be sellers, going up against the Cards? And Mariners Angels, that is your late game. First pitch set for 9:38. Very specific Eastern time.